So we have a simple house rules here before we start. First, please stay until the end because we will do activities, quizzes, review, um, a discussion, simple discussion tonight throughout the session pertaining to dendrology. Second, kindly reserve your questions until the designated question and answer portion if you still have time. Sorry, because we started late, kind of late. So this will allow us to maintain the flow of the discussion and cover all the important factors efficiently. So if you have questions that remain unanswered throughout this session, and or if we have run out of time, you may email our team, Upstep Review Center team, to assist on that, so we can answer those unanswered questions if ever we run out of time. And then third, we encourage everyone to participate in our quizzes and challenges that we prepared. And then basically, the more you participate at our session here, the more likely that you will retain the concept. So I highly suggest to be active, and then let's keep the discussion productive and focused. So we can move forward now. So allow me to briefly introduce myself. So I am Forrester Espina, and I've been teaching forestry reviews classes for 2 years now. This is my second time. And I graduated at University of the Philippines, Los Baños. And my goal here is simple, and that is to help all of us here, that the newcomers and first time taking the exam, to help you get the forester title as well, hopefully. So over the time, we observe a pattern actually. So students who struggle with dendrology and all the forestry subjects often do not fail because they do lack the intelligence, but rather they fail because they study too much or too many details without understanding which details matter most. I mean, you can just cover few things in such a period of time. So it's best advised to focus on what matters. And then on the other hand, our successful examinees here usually recognize those patterns through our help. They know what to prioritize, so that leads them to know how to connect the species, morphology, family, species, again, and economic importance of it. So that is the approach that we hope to share with all of us that is here tonight. And then moving forward, so how to fail dendrology. So these are the three things. Basically, memorize everything. If you attempt to memorize everything, you will surely fail because again, um, focus on essential concept is the key. And then that is also inefficient trying to memorize everything. Second mistake is ignoring the morphology. So it is not enough to just memorize, but also to familiarize the morphology and the key characteristic traits of a certain species. So many word questions can be solved if you recognize a key trait, such as winged fruit, compound leaves, um, torn barks, opposite leaves, buttresses. So those are helpful in terms of identifying a specific tree species. And then third mistake is to memorize only the names. So many students memorize, like me before. For example, we have the NARA, 𝗙𝗘𝗟𝗟𝗡𝗧 indicus, Malabif, for Vitex barbiflora and more. But they forget the family, the morphology, the economic significance. So the best strategy is not to just focus on the scientific name, but also to identify starting from the scientific name, then go to the trait, understand the key trait that they have and where they belong, the family that they belong to, and the use, the economic importance as well as the use in general. So if you remember these four components together again, species, trait, family, and use of the species, it improves the retention significantly. So at right now, let me see. Type yes in the comment if you ever forget a scientific name immediately after memorizing it, especially after being exposed to the sample that you collected on field or was explained to you by the professor. Type yes. Let's see. See. At one moment, I'm just trying to find here the comment section as well as on the Facebook Live. Let's move forward now. I still don't have the access on the comments. So sorry, and I apologize. I don't see the um, comments that you're posting on the Facebook Live as well as here. Sure, how to do that. So before we start, let's try to type to Philippine Greece. I encourage all that is here to type to Philippine Greece. Let's see your familiarity. Let's do that quick challenge, shall we? So any species that comes to mind, anything at all, it is within the Philippines or available here at our country. Okay, so medyo delayed pa na stream. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. So yung mga nandito, for all the participants here, I encourage to comment species that you know or comes into mind. Like, for example, yung Nara, Malave, mga Yakaldao, anything. So while you're typing or identifying something, uh, I mean, it's three species that comes to your mind. Remember something important. Many of us know common names only. For viewers, for fewer forester in the forester field to the scientific name or common people. So even fewer can identify the families as well. Oh, but you know, there's one. How about the others? So I can measure the latency, but I think we have some answer here. So I see Batino from Cervico Panyata. So yes, tama. And then let's see. So the goal here is um to be aware of a Philippine species, right? Now, since we're talking about dendrology, and then right now we're gonna focus on morphology and then identification later on. So let's move forward. So here's our outline for today, for tonight rather. Classification of forest plants, cross morphology, species, and some mock-word questions that we prepared. Okay, so what is dendrology really? So if you're gonna remember anything, it's basically the study of the woody plants. So the dendrology is again scientific study of any trees, shrubs, and woody plants in general. So according to its _𝗓𝗔𝗓, Dendrology focuses on identification, classification, um, nomenclature, and distribution as well. So in forestry, dendrology is important because we must know what species we are managing. So imagine conducting a forest inventory without knowing any species at all. So that's like a nightmare because as a forester, you should be aware of your surrounding, aware of the trees that you will be managing if you're given a project or going to manage one as an owner. And then imagine preparing a management plan without the accurate identification. So dendrology comes in hand, providing the foundation for these activities. And when many people hear the word dendrology, they think only about memorizing scientific names. So that was me before as well. But more to that, dendrology is actually also more encompassing all other aspects as well, involving the understanding the relationships that there is among species and also recognizing their distinguishing characteristics. So it's kind of difficult, sort of rating from 1 to 5. I'd say around 3, since it's more of a combination of botany, taxonomy, morphology, and yes, of course, the memorization of the species all at the same time. So why does it matter? So it's first important to forest inventory. You cannot properly estimate the resources that you will have or will manage if the species are incorrectly identified. And then second, we have is conservation purposes. Many Philippine species are currently threatened. And then accurate identification helps as well determine the conservation priorities. And then third, we have the timber utilization. So different species possesses different wood qualities as well. So fourth, uh, we have the forest management. So species selection influences reforestation success and ecosystem restoration. So from a board examination point of view, species identification remains one of the most constantly emphasized areas. So if we are to think like FLE test creators, species identification would be significant, will be receiving my significant attention in terms of composing the exam. So be cautious of that or be mindful of that. Think it, give emphasis to that when you're reviewing. And then, so in terms of the board, so in general for the dendrology subject, expect the following, including scientific names, families, diagnostic rates, key traits of species, and of course, again, the economic importance. Okay, so we have here next. Let's review the plant classification. So basically, plants and other species are organized into hierarchical categories. From the broadest to most specific, we have the kingdom, division, class, order, family, genus, and then species. The most important level for identification is the species. So again, for our example, we have the Nara. So for the kingdom, Nara is under Plantae. For family, under Fabaceae, genus 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, and then species will be under Indicus. So again, scientific name is 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 indicus for now. So the species level is what usually appears in identification questions that you can expect. So in order to remember the taxonomic hierarchy, just remember the mnemonic King David come over for good soup. So you will have the idea or can remember easily the taxonomic hierarchy. Moving forward, the dendrology will also tackle the comparison between the two, gymnosperm versus the angiosperm. We have here the cone and then flower. So one of the easiest points to earn in the exam is this. If you're able to distinguish the description between the gymnosperms and angiosperm as well as sample of it, you will earn yourself a point already. So basically, gymnosperms again produce naked seeds. Their seeds are not enclosed in fruits. So most are cone-bearing species. For example, we have Almaciga, Pinus cassia, or bengat pine, and we have the on the other hand, angiosperms producing flowers and fruits. So an example we have here the rain tree. So most Philippine timber species belong to this group. So again, we have the Nara, Molave, rain tree, Yakal. So if you see cones, immediately think of gymnosperm. So and if you see flowers or mention of flowers and fruits, think of angiosperm. So in terms of the exam, um, focus on the Almaciga because it's frequently used and overly used based on the samples that we discovered. And then we have here, moving forward, the Philippine forest type. So let's conclude the first part of this review um, by reviewing the major forest formations in the Philippines. We have lowland dipterocarp, montane forest. We have the mossy forest, pine forest, and mangrove forest. So the lowland dipterocarp forest is considered the most economical or most economically important forest type. It contains many commercial timber species. And then for the montane forest, it occurs at higher elevations. And then mossy forest main characteristics, including abundant moss on it, and cooler climates. And then for pine forest, commonly associated with higher elevations in northern Luzon. And then for the mangrove forest, it generally occupies the coastal and coastal region or environment. So if only one forest type deserves extra attention, just to emphasize for the exam, that would be the lowland dipterocarp forest. So many commercially important species originate from this forest formation. So now that we understand where species occur, we will move forward into the most important practical skill in dendrology. So this is the species identification through morphology. And this is where many more questions begin as well. Let's move forward. So we have here the PLTF rule. So what is it? It includes the bark, leaves, twigs, and fruits used reliable for identification when you're at the field. And then whenever you encounter unfamiliar tree, ask yourself the following. What can you observe? What is readily available in the surrounding? Instead of panicking, use this rule, the LPF rule. Is there a bark available? So B for bark. Is there a leaf? So L for leaves. Is there twigs available? T for stands for twigs. And then is there a fruit or flower available? So this simple framework helps um, every forester organize their observation during the field identification. And many students immediately jump to scientific themes. So that is actually that we should work backwards to be more efficient. So professional foresters first observe characteristics, then identify the species. So remember, when it comes to identification, begin with what you can observe for the sample that you're trying to understand or identify. So observation begins with morphology. And then in terms of the exam, we can provide a tip basically. Uh, if it describes a leaf, a certain fruit, a bark, or branching pattern available, focus on the characteristic. What is it trying to say? What's the main trait that they're trying to provide you on that sample question? And then once you identify that, you get to focus on what's the available in the multiple choices because usually it is multiple choices. And then begin to eliminate and then identify based on what most likely is the answer. So in terms of scenario where there is no fruits, because not all the time when you go to a field and you try to identify species or trees, there will be available or availability for fruit and flowers. So what can you do? So based on experience, we were taught to also be resourceful. So if the tree, especially if it's kind of very tall and big, and you can just see them from above, we tend to focus on what is available. Like, does it have a root? Is it showing any fruit at all? Is it showing like mattresses? Or we can also check for the bark. What bark characteristic do they have? And then lastly, most reliable, actually last resort, if ever, is the leaves that fall under the tree. It's usually due to senescence and other instances, um, the leaf will eventually fall under. So you can use that as well as already available when you're trying to understand or identify a species. And then moving forward, we have here leaf arrangement, and most of the highlight will be the following tree. And this is the easiest structures to observe as well. So we have here the alternate arrangement means there's one leaf per node. So alternate leaf basically is the keyword. And then we have the opposite arrangement. It means two leaves directly opposite to each other. And then we also have the world arrangement. It means three or more leaves emerge from the same node. So this may seem simple, but it's extremely useful actually when identifying species. For example, um, Mulave. It is commonly recognized by its opposite leaf arrangement. So if a certain question describes opposite leaves, you can count on it being one of the answer. Most likely is Mulave. So do not memorize the species separately from the morphology. It should be hand in hand. Connect them, make a relationship, so that way it will be easily retained on your mind. And then moving forward, tonight we're going to focus on top 5 species, but here are the top 10 species to keep in mind when it comes to the forestry licensure exam. The following species are not the only trees in the Philippine forest, but they are the common species to be included on the exam. So if your review time is limited, these are the species that you need to focus most of your attention to. So our priority ranking tonight, again focusing on the top 5 species, we have the Nara, Olave, Yakal, Lawan group, and the Kamakong. And then as we discuss each one, we are going to focus on 4 things. we will start understanding their scientific name, family, diagnostic rate, and economic importance. So moving forward, so we have here the 𝗙𝗕𝗢𝗓𝗧 from family 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗓𝗧. Then again, if you're gonna remember one thesis in this lecture, that should be 𝗪𝗓. 𝗪𝗓 is the nationality of the Philippines, and key characteristics to remember: it have compound pinnate leaves. It has yellow flowers, and very distinct for this species is the winged buds, and it's also considered premium hardwood and an excellent furniture wood as well. So here's the important part. So most students stop at national tree. However, the board exam goes deeper. You may be asked what family does 𝗪𝗓 belong to, as well as what food characteristics does 𝗪𝗓 possess, um, what's the scientific name, what's the economic importance that is known for. So always try to connect when you're understanding species. So for 𝗪𝗓, remember it, the family is 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗓𝗧. Main characteristic to remember is the wing bud. And for economic importance, it's considered premium hardwood. And then to remember, 𝗪𝗓 is again, we have the mnemonic 𝗪𝗓. So N for national tree, A for uh, attractive hardwood, R for round winged bud, and then R for remembering the family name 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗓𝗧, and then A, it almost always appear on the exam. So exam trap to consider as well is that 𝗪𝗓 is often confused with 𝗪𝗕𝗦𝗬𝗓. So both are valuable hardwoods. So the main difference though will be for 𝗪𝗓, it's known for its wing pad, but for 𝗪𝗕𝗦𝗬𝗓, again, opposite leaves. And then speaking of the 𝗪𝗕𝗦𝗬𝗓, that's our next species. Um, Scientific name is Vitex or Vitex parviflora, family Lamiaceae. Main characteristic to remember again is its opposite leaves, and then it's also highly durable wood, termite resistant, and then it's also considered excellent construction timber. So another reason Malawi is commonly tested is because it combines the morphology and the economic importance. So remember for Malawi, main characteristic is that it has the opposite leaves, and then also known, considered as the one of the most durable, and then commonly used as well for construction. And then to remember, so for Malawi, we also have a mnemonic. So M for most durable, O for opposite leaves, L for the family Lamiaceae, A, and so like 𝗪𝗓 almost always present on the exam. And then V, it's very important, valuable timber. And then B for being exempted paper. And then exam trap to consider or watch out is that many older references, you have those, place Malawi under the family Verbenas. So that's outdated. So again, modern classification, it's now under Lamiaceae. So for exam consideration, when you're studying a species, always consider the current reference being used, your root materials. And we have the next species here, Yakal. Species name is Sharia. from the family 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪. Key characteristic to either heavy hardwood, it strong timber, and wind fruit as well. And then it's commercially important as well. So when you hear the passing, so this family dominates many Philippine lowland forests. So in order to remember, we also have mnemonic here. So Y for yielding durable wood. A, so uh, among the 𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗡𝗧 family, and then K for known for its commercial species or capacity to produce, and then A for always frequently included on the exam as well, and then L for uh, the environment that it usually belongs to or seen, lowland, L for lowland forest species. And then often the student confuse ikaw with lawan. So to distinguish or why is that both are from family that there are arbs or that there are passing. However, main characteristic for yakal is it usually associated with a heavier, stronger timber. And then moving forward, we have the kamagong, the fourth species, and it's again the 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 blancoi. So it came from the family Ebenaceae. So main characteristic to remember is that um, it's dark hardwood and then extremely dense wood, and then it produces or belong to premium wood products, and then it's also producing or producing luxury carving material as well. So when you see the phrase Philippine ebony, your mind or thinking should be kamagong already. That's your clue, big clue actually. So to remember kamagong, okay, um, it's known for um, it being ebony, and then A for being attractive dark wood, and then M, so for the market value that is very high. And then A, it always appears well on their reviews and exam. And then G for weight density. And then for exam traps to consider or be mindful, it is usually confused with other species again, like Molave. Why? Because both are considered premium woods. But however, to distinguish that, Molave more durability, and then Camagong, known as ebony. Then for ours, moving forward for our last focused or emphasis species, we have Albasica, also known as the Agathis philippinensis. It came from the family Araucariaceae, and then it's a gymnosperm. And then key characteristic to consider it's since it's a gymnosperm, it's a cone bearing as well, and it produces resin, and then it's commercially the commonly known resin source here at the Philippines. So whenever you hear clue word like cone, resin, and gymnosperm, think of Almaciga automatically. So for mnemonic, you can use the ALMA. So A stands for the family, Araucariaceae. L for long resting history. and then M for one of the major example for a gymnosperm species. Then A, always considered and always present on the exam. And then we have here honorable species to consider. We have the apitong, ipil, and dao. So for apitong, it's also source of the resin. Ipil is also known for the durable timber, and then dao, known for buttress ground. So we have now covered the species. So most that we should focus on basically. So next, moving forward, let's test ourselves. Um, for this one, I'll need the participants to comment here because we are gonna identify species using only visual clues available. So that is exactly what we will do in our image identification challenge. So this part is known as who's that tree or who's that forestry. So you would have answer immediately, observe first, look carefully at the sample, for example, the leaves, the fruit available, and then ask yourself, what is the most what is the most picture readily available? So we are gonna give you 30 seconds. So type in your answer in the comments. So let's just pause for a bit before I start. Let me just see if other parts are viewable since we are not using Wi-Fi. One moment. Okay, so participants ready? We're gonna start with our first. You cannot see the species. By any chance, please let me know in the comment so we can skip that because I'm not sure because on my end it's not viewable some parts of it. So let's start with the first species right now. So yes, 30 seconds. So again, take time to see the key features available. The leaves, trees, bark, fruits, flowers that will help you identify. Common name or species are acceptable. Okay, time's up. So let's see. So anong guess po ng mga participants natin here? Apologies if hindi clear yung visual aids. Might be due to us using data. Okay, let's move forward. So the answer is rain tree or Samanaya salmon. So for these, again, take a look on the leaves, flowers, and fruits. And I'm not sure if I was clear on your end, guys' end as well. So apologies for that. So this one should be the fruit that usually dark and elongated. And then this is the leaf of the rain tree. You must basically recognize the species from the description. And then if you forget the scientific name, that's fine. Try to move to the next one that you can remember, like the family, or if not, the trait, the main characteristic that will also help you ring a bell on your mind when you take the exam. So let's move forward. Hopefully you can see the next visual aid as well. You have the next pieces here. Okay. I think this one is not viewable. Can I get a confirmation? if you're seeing any visual aid. So I think for the next slides, it's going to be the same. Okay, we can skip that for now. Sorry. Apologies. But supposedly that's the, let's see. Here, here we leave a bit of or 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗡𝗧. And then, okay, same scenario, not viewable. So our next species, supposedly is the penis kiss or benguet mine. And then we have the next species, Gemini or 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪. The last one is viewable, hopefully. So let's try to guess last species. Again, take a look on the arrangement, the flowers available, the color, the venation, everything. Okay, time's up. So that will be that will be 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗧 or mountain species. Okay, there we go. Can someone get correct? There we go. And Raziel got it. Correct. Thank you. So that said, you have now practiced one of the most important dendrology skills, identification using observable characteristics. So those are some species. So jokingly, the reason why you're not able to see the other three species are you need to enroll on the Upstep Review Center now to unlock those figures or visual aids. Just kidding. So notice how those species really relied on memorization alone. We need to also identify all that we can see, all that is available, even if it's just pictures or the actual sample. So we relied on clues. So what are available? We have the leaves, fruits, cones, wood, trunks, barks. So those are the clues that you will be relying when you're on the field or just viewing the picture itself. But if you can get a hold of the sample, that's better than having the pictures alone. And then, so now let's move forward. Let's raise the difficulty. So in the next section, we will move into a battle for FLE style questions, where you will apply everything we've discussed so far. So this is where you'll discover whether you're truly exam ready. So I encourage all of the participants here to comment your answers. So the next part, the question battle. So yeah, welcome to the question battle. Here's how it works. Um, Before I reveal the answer, I want everyone to type letter A, B, C, or D in the comments. So don't worry if you get the answers incorrect or wrong. The goal here is to learn. And then remember, the board examination requires reasoning as well. So take time to observe. You will be provided the question and 30 seconds as well. So that way you will feel or you will be able to practice time allocation as well. Because you don't have that much time as well when it comes to real life FLE. So let's begin. So again, for those participants that can participate, please join and comment the answer. Comment A, B, C, or D for your best bet. And then let's move forward right away. We have question number one. What is the nickname of Nara? Like Vitex parviflora, Tericarpus indicus, 𝗙𝗓𝗟𝗟𝗡𝗧, Espinosa. We have this virus blancoi. 7 seconds left. Okay, time's up. Okay, the correct answer is letter B, 𝗪𝗪𝗡𝗧 indicus. So and that is Nara, our national tree. So when it comes to Nara, always have the thinking pattern, the common name, Nara, then species, scientific name, 𝗪𝗪𝗡𝗧 indicus, and then 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪, and then the main characteristic to remember, wing bud. And then notice how those four with each other and then help you remember better. So use that in the next species or questions. That makes recall easier. So question number 2, moving forward, what is the scientific name of Malave? We have Vitex parviflora in ภิ𝗔𝗔𝗓𝗪, Agathis philippinensis, 𝗙𝗘𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 grandiflorus. And earlier, I think most of the participants answered correctly. So let's see for this time. Okay, time's up. The correct answer is A. So, comment, tama naman. Vitex parviflora. So, again, this one, remember the durability of it, but don't forget the scientific name as well. So again, make the connection, the core connection. The common name, Malave, scientific name, Vitex parviflora, from what family, the Lemmiaceae, and main characteristic to remember, opposite leaves. And then moving forward to the next question, what is the scientific name of Kamago? A. ภิ𝗓𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 blancoi, 𝗙𝗓𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪, 𝗪𝗓𝗦𝗪𝗡𝗪, Tericarpus indicus. Okay, time's up. The correct answer is letter A. ภิ𝗓𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 blancoi. So the participant got it correctly. Very good. So again, for this one, think of Philippine ebony, and then common name Kamagong, and then scientific name 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗢𝗪 blancoi. And then next question, which sign refers to Almasiga? We have Venus cassia, Agathis philippinensis, Vitex parviflora, and ภิ𝗔𝗔𝗓𝗪𝗔𝗕𝗓. Those are our options. How many times up? The answer is letter B, Agathis philippinensis. Oops. Right? O, tama na naman yung mga participate. So for this one, we have to remember effectively think of the cone. And then again, Almasiga is popular example of gymnosperm, common name Almasiga, scientific name Agathis philippinensis. So important note to highlight, student often confuses the Almasiga species with the Benguet pine because both are gymnosperm. So learn to analyze the key difference that you can remember. Okay. Next, What is the scientific name of Yakam? 𝗙𝗢𝗡𝗧, 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪, 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪, or 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗡𝗧 grandiflorus. Okay, time's up. The answer is letter C, 𝗙𝗢𝗡𝗧. So for this one, remember, um, Yakal, common name, and then 𝗙𝗢𝗡𝗧 is the specific name, I mean scientific name, and then from the family, the 𝗙𝗢𝗡𝗧. So among the Sharia species, Yakal is one of the most frequently emphasized species. So moving forward, scientific names are usually considered easy points, so that let's try to increase the difficulty. We are moving forward to family relationships. So many participants, or I mean, many exam takers neglect this area. That is a mistake. I mean, a point that is not gained if you neglect that part. So family questions are also often used to separate strong examiners from the average one. So let's practice that like right now. Let's see. Moving forward. Question number 6. Katara belongs to which family? Ebenaceae, Fabaceae, Arachoriaceae, or Dipterocarpaceae? Okay, the correct answer is letter B from Fabaceae. So again, Fabaceae is also known as bud-producing trees. So usually ganun talaga itsura nila mukhang buds. Yung kanina yung sa Malayasaman, if you can recall, one of the species available earlier, same thing. Uh, the fruit itself, it looks like a dark bud. And then for Nara, it produces the buds. That's one thing that you can incorporate it with. And then moving forward, question number 7 for Molave, it belongs to which family? Verbenaceae, Fabaceae, Lamiaceae, Moraceae. Okay, we have that. So clicker and comments. Let's see. Correct answer is letter C, Lamiaceae. So everyone got it correctly. So for this one, um, extremely common graph if you're not up to date with the reference that you're reviewing. Again, on old references, it used to be with Verbenaceae, but we, as much as possible, rely on the modern classification. So we should have that updated one. And then for this case, Malave is now under family Lamiaceae. And then question number 8. Camogong family belongs to which family? Dipterocarpaceae, Fabaceae, Ebenaceae, or Meliaceae? Okay, let's see. Moving forward, correct answer is letter C. So most of you got it correctly. Very good. So for this one, the ebony Um, Kamugong, when you hear Kamugong, it's related to ebony, and then ebony is the keyword or Ebenasi family. So easy memory association helps a lot. And then moving forward, we have Yakal, Mayapis, and Redlawan. They belong to which family? Ipabasi, the Ipterocarpasi, Morasi, or Araucariaceae. Okay. The correct answer is letter D, Ipterocarpasi. So again, for this one, family level recognition eliminates many wrong choices. So bakit hindi pabasi? Kasi nga yun yung mga Lara or plain tree. And then when it comes to exam, knowing major dipterocarp species is a high return review strategy. So emphasize or highlight on that dipterocarp species as well when reviewing. So moving forward, let's now see if morphology can help us identify species. And then this is where dendrology becomes practical. You are no longer identifying names on this next part or next questions. You are identifying groups. So let's test that right now. For question number 10, which characteristic is most associated with Nara? We have opposite leaves, winged buds, we have coneberry, and we have black heart. Okay, time's up. Let's see. The answer is letter B, winged buds, as emphasized earlier. So again, this is the national tree Nara. And then not you don't have to just memorize that, but you also need to memorize their scientific name and main characteristic, as well as the morphology on this portion. And then many students remember only the Nara is the national tree, but also try to remember the characteristics. And one of the key is for Nara having a wing buds. And then moving forward, question number 11. Malave is commonly known or recognized by opposite compound leaves, winged fruits, cone bearing habit, or buttress trunk. Okay, time's up. The correct answer is letter A, opposite compound leaves. So whenever you see the opposite leaves, think immediately one of the option, Malave. And then again, to avoid the exam trap, Malave and are often confused as well when it comes to the characteristics. So main distinguishing factor for both species would be for Malave, it has the opposite leaves, and Nara, it has innate compound leaves. Okay. Next question. Question number 12. Which group typically produces winged fruits? You have Fabaceae, Ebenaceae, Dendrocarpaceae, and Araucariaceae. Okay, let's see. There's correct answer is letter C, 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪. And okay, you guys got it correctly. So for this one of the most useful shortcuts in dendrology is the main characteristics that they have if present or available in the question or choices. So for main fruits, think of the 𝗙𝗪𝗡𝗪. And then moving forward, question number 13. A tree with a large buttress trunk is most likely Nara, Lao, Camagong, or Almasig. Okay, time's up. Correct answer is letter B, Lao. For the main characteristic is buttress. And then in order for us to remember the think of the DA or the O, then extract the DA, and then the main buttress or the buttress, DA and then buttress to remember. That's one of the key characteristics to remember as well. And then now let's move from morphology now to economic importance. So for this part, foresters do not just study the trees only because they are trees, but rather we also need to study them because of their economic significance, especially for managing forest or working at fields. So we have question 14. Which species is known as Philippine ebony? Nara, Camagong, Molave, or Eagle. Okay, time's up. The correct answer is letter B, Camagong. So this is one of the easiest points in the dendrology. If you see the word Philippine ebony, automatically that's most likely asking for Camagong as the correct answer. So moving forward, question number 15. Which species is primarily known for resin production? We have Molave, Nara, Almasiga, and Dao. Okay, time's up. Most of you answered letter C, and that is correct. The correct answer is letter C, Almasiga. So for this one, think of resin and then associated with the Almasiga. Um, and then again, Almasiga is also known as the best example for a gymnosperm species. And then yeah, for example, Almasiga again, for Almasiga resin rather is most commonly cited forest product. So in terms of other parts of the exam, not just the dendrology, Almasiga is almost always present. So take note of that or emphasize on that when you're reviewing. Next, question number 16. Which species is particularly valued for exceptional durability in construction? Molave, Camagong, Dao, or Mayapis? Okay. And answers. How about your answers, participants? By the third A, let's see if tama, malapit. Correct answer is A, malapit. Very correct. And Shani. And again, so for this one to remember, malapit associated with the known or exceptional durability. And then this association appears repeatedly in forestry references, so it is not going to be present only at the dendrology part. It might be as well present on the forest governance or forest management part as well. So let's see. Um, so for the next part, the last four questions I think that we have here. Let us see how strong your foundations are already. And then this final questions focuses now on the concepts that many students overlook. So let's move forward right away. Question, question number 7. Which type dominates or which forest type dominates Philippine lowland areas and serves as the primary source of commercial timber species? Okay, the correct answer is letter D, lowland dipterocarp forest. So again, that type of forest contains many commercially important timber. And then this is one of the most important forest formation to remember. So take note and give emphasis to lowland dipterocarp forest type in your review. Okay. And then question number 18. Um, Pine forests in the Philippines are commonly associated with coastal regions, northern Luzon high elevations, mangrove areas, or deep lowland microcarp zones. Okay, we have one answer. How about the others? Again, you don't have to be correct. The goal here is to practice answering within time limit for allocation. Okay. Most of you answer letter B. Let's see. The correct answer is letter D. Northern Luzon high elevations. So one example to think, to easily remember and associate, think of Benguet pine or Pinus cassia. And then moving forward, question number 19. Which scientific name is correctly written according to binomial nomenclature rules? So I'm not gonna read all of that. All of that. Just focus on what is the correct way. Okay, how about the others times for actually the letter D? Let's see. Okay, that is the answer in the letter D. So why is that? Basically, the rule for genius, the Venus stroke, the first letter will be capitalized. In this case, it is the letter B is capitalized, and this is the genus Therocarpus. And then for species, the rule is to have it in lowercase, the first letter. Spy case is in lowercase. And then lastly, both are itemized. sometimes with underline. That's the general rule for writing scientific species. And then for our last question, which statement about scientific names is correct? Common names are preferred internationally. Scientific scientific names eliminate confusion caused by local names. Scientific names are written entirely in uppercase, or these species names are always capitalized. Okay, time's up. How about the others? We have one answer. Letter B. Let's see if that's correct. The correct answer is letter B. Scientific names are indeed helpful in eliminating confusion caused by local names. So why is that? So common names vary. Um, However, scientific names reduce confusion because it's the same in all literature or scientific studies. So that helps on avoiding confusion. So why does it matter, or why? How does it help? So the main purpose of the nomenclature is universal communication among scientists and foresters worldwide. So that's how important is, it is. So, for example, 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 indicus is our national tree. Is known as 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗪 indicus as well on the United States or other country, or even as well as on the scientific literatures or studies or researches. It is always known as 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗪 indicus. It is not changing. However, the common name, on the other hand, is not that reliable because it, like as mentioned earlier, not consistent with region or country. Okay. So I just want to emphasize on the exam traps to be mindful. So we have the Nara versus Malave, Ikal versus Lawan, the Almasika, and then scientific name traps as well. So if you remember nothing else tonight, remember these four traps as much as possible. So for trap number one, they are often confused with each other. Nara and Malave due to them being valuable timber. And then the only distinguishing factor is going to be for Nara, wing bud, and again Malave, opposite leaves is what they have, main characteristic. And then family, Nara came from Fabaceae, and then Malave came from Lamiaceae. And then again, Nara is known as the national tree, while Malave is not. And however, Malave is known for being a durable timber. Okay. And then graph number two, we have Yakal versus Lawan. Main characteristic to consider or distinguish. Yakal is a heavy hardwood, while Lawan, on the other hand, is commercially timber or commercially produced timber. And then graph number three, to remember, Almasiga is not not part of angiosperm, but rather gymnosperm. It's a cone bearing species. And then for our last graph, number four, we have the scientific name writing. So again, our example earlier, 𝗙𝗢𝗪𝗪 indicus, it's Nara. So observe the first letter for the genus 𝗙𝗢𝗪𝗪. The letter P is capitalized as it should be. And then for the species indicus, the first letter I in this case is in lowercase. The species is lowercase. And then both are italicized or slanting. So sometimes again it's not enough, we also put underline. And then so what you should study tonight are the following. If not all the species, focus on the spine. 𝗓𝗓𝗡𝗓𝗧, Lawan, and Kamagong. So before we end, I want you guys to do something tonight. If you only 5 species, not 50, not all of it, if there's a lot, it's not efficient, first and foremost. It will take time consuming. Just focus on 5. Ganara, Molave, Yakal, Lawan, and Kamago. Master those 5 species. It's like identify the common name, other common name if there is, scientific name, the family they belong to, the main trait for each of the species, and of course, don't forget the economic importance of each of them. And once you master all of those, or be familiarized, you will already have one step ahead of other exam takers. So if today's or tonight rather, if tonight's review masterclass uh, help you simplify dendrology. So imagine what happens when every forestry subject is organized this way. So that's where our team, the Upstep Review Center, comes in. Our goal is not simply to provide information, but also to step up your reviewing game, basically. So we provide here structure, a clear study plan, with lecturers. Uh, and then aside from that, we also provide those drills, exams that you see or saw earlier and experienced. And we also provide practice questions, guided review sessions, self-paced review as well, if that's um, okay with you. That's your way of reviewing. And then we also have a active community of future foresters working toward basically the same goal. And then, not to mention, some of the top foresters taker last year, 2025, came from our review center. They used the same program strategies that we're sharing with you tonight. And then, of course, that is what we can offer, but only if you allow us to help you. And you do your part, do your best, and we will do our best as well. And then hopefully we can help you achieve the 4-star title as well in your name. That's my main or personal goal earlier for all of you guys. And then, yeah, for our future foresters here, I know that you can do it. Um, review or focus on what's important. The board examination is not passed in one night. It's more than one night, but a series of structured, highly focused, organized um, nights and days of reviewing. And we are here to assist you if you'd like. So again, the goal here is to help you study smart, focus on high yield concepts, and then practice repeatedly. And most importantly, believe that you belong in this profession, that you will have the confidence when when you're taking the exam. So thank you so much, guys, for spending your evening with us. I wish you all to be successful in your preparation for FLE 2026. And hopefully you can, if you're decided, register now. Here's our links to connect with us. And then hopefully we can see you on our next sessions. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.